gentlemen. Longer tee this year, so brings in a low ceiling, but you got to get over that wall.
With this, I've never seen this play.
Gosh.
Yeah, what's the rule? Probably out. There should definitely be a line.
It looks like, but yeah, you don't know. It'll probably be the inside of it. But you never know. Yeah, what's the line?
Yeah, why is there no line?
That's
I mean, the line is the inside of this. It has to be.
You would think.
We gotta make sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it any other way. The only
Probably
way
no officials still.
The only way it's safe is if it's safe on top of the wood.
That would mean that this is safe then, and do you think that's safe?
I wouldn't think so, but I'd love it if there was an official.
Well, if on top is safe, then it would mean the outside, right?
It's got to be the inside. I mean, I can't see it any other way.
Why is there no line here?
The order in which the out of bounds play. The out of bounds that are listed on their lines out of order. I don't know where the line is on this one, but it should say. I'm assuming it says.
I don't think it's probably in, but I would love to hear the reasoning why there's no line, or just have someone who knows what they're talking about be around.
I agree. Because he said the order was like line, banner, then natural, but that's none of these.
Nobody's here, is basically what we're hearing.
What if you landed on top of it?
It shouldn't be. You wouldn't think it'd be in, but someone.
Just play it provisional. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah, just play it. Sure. Take a picture and show it to Steve.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
No? Yeah, you can.
Really?
Yeah. No?
I don't
do
think
a
so.
picture but not video.
Yeah, there you go.
So
just take a picture first.
play it as if it was the outside,
Okay.
and take the meter, right?
Steve says to play a provisional, and he'll talk with you when you get back.
Sounds fine. So I'm going to play it as if the OB was the outside, because that's the only way I'd be in bounds.
Yeah, they've decided to take a provisional.
You know, he's lining up something, and
So
provisional.
this is a provisional from Nate.
Yeah, because his shot skipped, rolled in between those railroad ties, but there wasn't exactly a defined line, no string, no paint. The call ended up being that the railroad ties acted as the OB line, and as we know, it's the OB line can be as thin as it needs to be, a string a millimeter thick, or as thick as it needs to be. In this case, a railroad tie, which is about a foot thick, and that whole line is out of bounds.
Yes.
So really, your disc has to be touching inbounds to be considered inbounds. Nate's unfortunately was not, by a matter of 2 inches maybe.
Yeah, not much.
And so there was a bit of discussion. They weren't, the card wasn't exactly sure because, like I said, there was no string line, no paint line. So it was a tough call, a slightly tense moment there for a minute or so with all that discussion, especially late in the round where things are pretty close and your leader just missed the island and is going to be ending up taking a bogey at best. So, it was a tense moment. Unfortunately, Nate had to go back to the drop zone. He missed the island by a couple inches. Yeah.
Yeah, so. and a real just a disorienting moment because this late in the round, it's so tight. That's a 2-stroke swing. How do you even know what to, do you lay at this point? He could be 2 down or even, and if he's 2 down, he's right in the mix.
Yeah, and Kev with the good birdie, Ricky with the good birdie. Now all of a sudden, Kev's only 3 back, Rick's 2 back, Chris is 1 back, and Nate. Yeah, like you're saying, it's they're kind of thinking provisional still, so it's like Nate is either 2 back or tied.
Exactly.
Like what is going on? And
so this
this was a fun moment.
Is what ended up happening. This is Steve Dodge on speakerphone. That is him giving his ruling on speakerphone, saying that it is officially out of bounds, and Nate had taken that 4.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, right. He's still kind of thinking whether or not it was a birdie or a bogey, but in the end, it was a bogey, and Dickerson
Patrick Brown to save his par.
Yeah, I moved. I fell, but
you're inside the circle. I couldn't tell you're inside the circle.
I don't know where I'm at. There's no circle here.
It's behind. Yeah, it's behind you. If you fell forward, then it's a football.
So putt it again?
No, the putt counts. It's just a.
Nobody called me on the football.
It has to be seconded.
I can't call myself. Nobody seconded.
You can second. I couldn't see if that was right behind the tree, to be honest.
So nobody called it. So it's actually. I mean, I stepped to the side, but I didn't know I actually went forward on my angle. I started from here.
From my angle, I can't see you step forward. But if you said you step forward, then your word.
Well, I'm asking. So I can't call myself. It's in the rules.
Did you call it?
No one called it. Nobody called it.
I didn't see it.
It was kind of to the side. I just asked if I was going forward.
Casually snags his disc really nicely there, too.
That was a...
that was while carrying a conversation, and he just hit a 35-footer. Well, actually...
Well, no, it wasn't.
Okay,
It was
never
not
mind.
35 feet. That's the problem.
I start with my left foot back.
I was on the top of the hillside. I couldn't quite see his feet, but from that replay angle, it did look like he stepped to the side, maybe a bit in front of his live, but either way, it wasn't called. And in that situation, you just have to move on.
Nico LaCastro now going to set up. This is 4-2 and a share of the lead. Pure as you want it. He was called for a foot fault here. Barry Schultz has called him for a foot fault.
I do not think that my left foot is in front. Anyone else gonna second it? Dude, I never.
To me, that looks in front.
I want you to look at it, Derek. Yes or no? My left foot never moved.
Mine wasn't 3 seconds.
That's true.
These guys, either one of them, my left foot never moved.
There's a controversy. Barry says when his foot fault, he called it on himself. It was after 3 seconds.
I did say something. I promise you I said something.
Oh, he seconded.
And there has been a second.
Oh, yeah.
There has been a second from Jason Light. And whether Nico likes it or not, the group has called a foot fault on him, and he is going to have to re-putt. Barry Schultz called it. Jason Light has seconded it. That is a tie for the... And he is not going to give it to him. Nico forced now to go get this out of the basket. Oh, the drama building here late Sunday afternoon. As Nico called, this is our 3rd foot fault during this round. And Jason Light being the man, stepping up and seconding that. And let's see if Nico can make 2 of these. This is for a share of the lead. Not a problem as Nico smarts off to Barry. Barry says, nice putt. Nico an emotional player, and it's on now. We got 5 holes left. Nico's emotion is rose to the top. It's boiling. You called a foot fault on Nico, and he wasn't going to accept the foot fault. And you had a second there, and he banged the big putt, let out a big yell. But I mean, there was a lot of tension going on here today.
Yeah, Nico and I have a bit of history. There are some times when he doesn't quite have his feet in the right position on some putts, and I've called him on it in the past, and he hasn't enjoyed it. I can't say I blame him.
Joel going high left forehand. That looks to be pretty good.
Looks pretty good, but he's pushed a little long. He drops down just about 20 feet away from the basket, but in a pretty tough spot.
That's an awkward... Oh, then Joel is trying to get to his disc.
Yeah, so right now he's getting in there to mark it. Lots of thick thorns and such out here.
So the trouble with this is trying to get back to the disc. And those are... Yeah, there's thorns in there. It's just a jungle. He's currently attached to one.
Yeah, it's a difficult area to have 20, 25 feet from the basket. I don't know if it's really a good thing to have this close to the basket. These thorns and things that are here were not deemed as a casual relief area, so it is something that the players are supposed to play from.
Does anybody have another mini?
And
And it looks like he's taking it back from, or what's his plan here, do you think?
So yeah, he has been trying to get in there. He comes over and says that he is not able to get to his lie and wants to take casual relief back behind it. I'm in there looking at it right now saying I could get in there within 15 seconds, I believe, and take this shot. We walk off to talk a little more while he is deciding to go ahead and take his casual relief here, further back behind his disc.
But you cannot take casual relief from something that is not deemed a casual obstacle.
So what was decided afterwards, we went to the next hole, got the TD, and since the majority of the group decided that it was a playable lie and that he could have physically gotten in and got his disc behind the marker that he put down to mark his disc, that it was a playable lie. So his casual relief was then taking a stroke as well. So he was, instead of the 4 throws that Joel threw here, he is taking 1 stroke along with that casual relief.
Interesting. That's something you don't see every day, but yeah, good description of the situation there.
Yeah, and it was like we double checked with the TD on the next tee pad, and then once the round was over, got additional confirmation that was the correct call.
Wow. Extreme anhyzer release, super high. That's a shot you don't see a lot of players have command over.
This isn't a shot that you practice. Oh, football has been called.
Interesting.
Look where my mark is, though, bro.
I just didn't know where the mark was. You stepped on your disc in general.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else saw it, though.
It wasn't seconded, I don't think.
I didn't see it.
Okay. I just saw it step the disc. That's all I saw. So I didn't know if you guys saw it.
All right. A second has to be made within a short period of time, within a reasonable amount of time, and none was made. Kevin will move on.
Come on, flex out. Dang it. Damn it, dude.
And we're waiting on a clarification. Paul McBeth has indicated that he'd rather tee from the original tee rather than moving to the drop zone. If Paul is going to call a provisional, as he'd like to re-tee from the tee area versus the drop zone. And Paul McBeth has now thrown a second one after indicating that he did not want to throw from the drop zone. We are waiting on a clarification. He had called a provisional, just to be very clear here.
Because I called a provisional on that one.
T-pad again.
Because I wanted to from T-pad, but we weren't 100% sure if I could go from the T-pad again.
I haven't heard a rule about him saying that, about Nate saying you can't do that, but we don't know for sure. So Paul said he would play a provisional from here. And so now he has to play his provisional.
There's always an option to re-tee, though, if you go out of bounds. So he has
unless
to
the TD says otherwise.
Because he's shooting 5, right? We didn't have an option. You're shooting 5, though, correct? That's what we're trying to figure out. There's always an option.
He said provisional. Just because we don't know what if Nate has made a special case here. So this is his provisional for his third shot.
Because like 17, you have to go to the drop zone.
Yeah, so play a provisional for his third shot, and then he'll play his 5th shot from here also. And then at the end, we'll talk to Nate and figure out which
so
occurs.
if I say provisional, is it still doesn't matter?
Right. So you gotta play it out both ways.
Oh my gosh, dude. What the fuck?
So that was your provisional.
Yeah,
So now you play your real, what we respect effect is going to be your real fifth shot.
Okay. I just got off the phone with Mike Krapika. He says under the PDGA rules, or under the course rules, he should have went to the drop zone from the first.
So that was for 3 then.
So
Okay,
then
so that's the real shot then.
That's per the course director.
Okay, that's why you say provisional. Okay, so the question is...
So that shot didn't count then? The provisional purple one did not count?
No. Because
Okay.
you should have came straight to the tee pad.
Cool.
You mean straight to the drop zone.
Or straight to the drop zone.
Got it.
You guys can feel free to double check, but that's the...
Yeah.
So we're getting a clarification here as to if Paul, in fact, had to move directly to the drop zone or not. I'm going to do my best to go ahead and get everyone up to speed as best as I can. Paul McBeth had thrown initially OB. Instead of wanting to go to the drop zone, he said he would like to play from the tee for his penalty shot if that was in fact allowed. So he called a provisional, hoping that he could in fact throw from the tee area again. However, his second tee shot ultimately went OB. And then once we got a clarification from the course director, they said that was never really an option in the first place. So when he had moved over here to the drop zone and thrown his shot, that effectively will be his third shot here on this hole. So Paul's looking at either taking a 4 or a 5. And Nico has been visibly frustrated by that, simply because he's not sure that's how it should have been played.
I think he should have to be shooting 5 unless it says that you are 100. Unless it says on there that you are 100% supposed to go to the drop zone. You're supposed to play by the PDGA rules. Dude. That's fucking bullshit.
We'll see what happens with Joel. He is testing that right side OB. He needs that to come back.
Yeah, and that's just going to stay out wide. Got way too much stand-up on that.
Yeah.
So right here, there's a rule in the rule book. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not going to be able to word it the same as what is in the rule book. But if you read it by itself, there is a rule that says you can take your disc inbounds, or at the closest place inbounds to where your disc has landed. So what he was reading right there is he threw this as a provisional shot. This is where his disc crossed out of bounds.
I'm already confused, but continue.
Right. So that's where typically you would see players throw from, is where Joel just threw from as his provisional shot.
Okay.
Now he is going to take it directly inbounds from where his disc is at as the rule that please go read it. I think it's 8.203, something of that sort. Look around there. Sorry, I don't know the rule book well enough to really point that out. But what was decided kind of even before he threw this shot. So his disc is directly to the right of where he's marked it at. This is the full distance of his disc, but inbounds. This is actually a rule that is only in place if it has been designated by the tournament director. So kind of like a drop zone or a 2-meter rule.
Okay.
If on a specific hole the tournament director says...
You just break the...
He knocked something off of there.
That's a very obscure rule.
Pretty strange. We all didn't know what to say about it, so we did the provisional to try so we could figure out what to do afterwards. The shot that he hit the pin on didn't matter at all. That one is not correct. The TD did not determine at any point before the round that you could do that. So he's playing from where his disc last went out of bounds, or was last inbounds.
So the TD would have had to establish a drop zone before the tournament for that rule to be in play.
A drop zone, or say you can take it from where it's at closest inbounds. So confusion there, but all for naught. He played it how everybody knows how to play it.
Maybe something the PDGA should elaborate on and maybe clarify a little bit for us players.
Yeah, just a few strange wordings in there.
Yeah.
And in looks like just a moment here, we have Paul McBeth on the tee, hole number 15, 16. Paul's release is somewhat high and on the right-hand side. Seems to be a conversation amongst the competitors as to whether or not Paul is in fact inbounds or not. We have Ulibarri and Wysocki both taking a look. Here comes Dan Hastings. He's going to chime in. Obviously, it's a group decision as to whether or not he's OB. There is not a defined line out here, which I think could be a possible consideration for Steve Dodge in the future, to only simply because there is a very wet and muddy and mucky area. Seems as if there is some water in some places, however, it is not consistent throughout, hence the continued conversation that's taking place over here. Michael Downs trying to determine as well, and you see the players very closely looking at it.
Safe? I mean, it's the same thing as what you guys are saying. But his disc isn't casual water. That's what I'm saying. The same as over there. So if you landed right there, completely surrounded by water, you call that safe? That's my argument.
I guess you would have to, because...
What do you mean? It's surrounded by water. It's a swamp, and he's in the swamp, and he's surrounded by water.
But it says you can play out of casual water. We don't know where that...
casual water. I mean,
what about that, then?
So
that's
I think it's casual water. A swamp? That's not a swamp. Swamp? Yeah, that's the pond. This is casual all in through here. This is not really the pond. That's what I see. I mean, I'd like to talk to Steve about it also, but...
Well, we're sitting here arguing about it. Call Steve. There's a rule in the PDGA that they can play through if there's a...
Yeah,
right?
that's fine. Yep. I'm happy to call Steve.
If we get a backup, they can play through.
Yeah, I got it.
No, they're way back there, and then they barely teed off. So.
Okay.
Okay, but if he calls it out, where's the line going to be? What's it going to be considered?
That's up to him. That's up to the person who...
That's what is there a creek up there that you call a lake or something, you know?
No, that's what I mean, though. That's
No,
what I'm
that's
saying.
casual
Like,
up there,
there's
and
no
that's-
line, but at the same time, that's water. And so if this is casual, then... So you're telling me I can go over to where that yellow disc is and play from it? And sink 2 feet down into water? You know what I mean? Like there should be a line, and that's where I want to know where the casual play starts.
I certainly understand.
I think that Steve's gonna call it in.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's gonna call it in. Yeah.
If it were left up to me, I would call that casual.
Because of this, because there's no line. Yeah.
Again, a continued conversation here as to whether or not Paul's disc is OB or not. You can see that there is definitely not in standing water per se. However, it is very wet and muddy and swampy is the term that's being used.
I mean, it's like he's like on the line pretty much. You know what I mean? Like if we were to call a line, he's like on the line.
I mean, if you landed right there, you'd say safe in the middle of a
No,
island.
and that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, see, that's safe.
Yeah, exactly. Don't lose your shoe. Don't lose your shoe.
Jesus, you're out of bounds, bro. Is this real?
And
should just called it safe and got it done with.
Oh my gosh, you're out of bounds. I'm out of here.
And Paul McBeth, or Paul Ulibarri, after coming down off of the rock, unfortunately, has maybe just ruined a pair of his shoes and jokingly said, "You're out of bounds, bro."
Go through your head. So I was really, really excited to hit that putt, and as you should be. Left side kind of cage or spit out, excuse me, not cage out, chain out. And I'm not sure what the result here is. Yeah, and at this moment, Katrina actually threw her mini, and
this is water.
we kind of had an exchange here, and now we're having a secondary exchange over, is it safe, is it OB? The rule states if it's completely surrounded by water, it is out of bounds, so we're trying to decide here, is that the case or is it not?
And you can hear Kat is pleading that her disc is not surrounded by water.
Well, are the rocks safe or is it the grass?
We're talking
If
about
the
are
rocks
the
are
rocks.
open,
It's
then
just
if
the water.
If it's just surrounded by water, then I think it's probably safe. But
And the final ruling on that for the card.
That it was safe. It was touching a rock. We couldn't tell if that rock
smashed the basket.
There's a bit of discussion going on between Paige and Kat at this point. You can tell there is a lot of nervousness, a lot of anxiousness between the two players. Kat is in the lead and has just had a rough hole. Paige just cashed in a birdie between the mini throw and potentially the actually inbounds or what could have been an out of bounds call. These players are entering hole 17 with a lot of extra pressure.
Not today.
Okay. A little turned over.
This is in danger of going out of bounds to
Wow,
the right.
yeah.
But
I think they're discussing whether or not
but this
Paul
isn't
has to
an
go to
island,
the
so
drop
that doesn't-
zone.
That's not in play on this hole.
It says if MPO gold tee shot lands OB in the water, proceed to drop zone 1.
But this isn't an island hole. It's not an island hole. So yeah, so I crossed inbounds up there.
If you're OB in the water, you go to this tee.
I'm not play provisional, but that's not how it should be. It isn't an island.
so Paul's drive must have gone in the water on the long side, which is
in the water.
In the water, and that is a very strange. Oh, look at this! Dropping, and Paul's gone out of bounds long, and once again.
Here's what's interesting about this shot.
My
is
goodness.
if he doesn't play the drop right there,
That's the thing,
he's
that
in the
doesn't make
water,
sense.
and I feel like he
So
played a
he's saying
perfect
if I
shot,
landed
and it
right
still
here,
dropped and
I
went
would take
deep.
it from here, but because I landed right there, I take it from back there. That's not the rule, Steve.
Like I said, if you just want to play it both ways like you did, I'm not
Well, Steve's the TD. Steve, it's the same OB line. It comes right here.
So the corner would be that line right there.
It's the same line.
Right, and that's why we said at the beginning of the round, the rope defines, on this side of the pond, the rope defines the water. Because the same thing happens over there.
Why isn't that defined though in the rules, that is the exact spot where it ends?
Good argument.
I 100% side with Paul McBeth here. I think that it's arbitrary that water and land are different behind that line. That
Agreed.
line designates the backside. And if you're OB on the backside, I feel like you should be able to play it from where it crossed. It seems like a bit of a strange rule that they're going to need to clear up. It's a bit confusing even for the players. It sounded like it was maybe even a little bit confusing for Steve, the TD of the event, and hopefully they get that cleared up. Paul actually won his appeal post-round on the hole 8. So when he actually played the provisional, he took a 4. The way that we showed it on camera, and at the time the way that was scored on the scorecard was a 5. But overnight they looked at the rule and they realized that was the correct way to play it. And so Ricky actually did not have a 3-shot advantage over Paul. It was only 2.
You know what? I absolutely love that. That's a message to you guys at home. Always play your provisionals. If you think that you might know the rules a little better, or even have an idea, or
Right.
interpret the rules different than somebody else, play provisional.
Yep.
And right here, McBeth starts off 1 stroke closer to
Yep.
Ricky Wysocki because of it. Which
Garrett, we got a second. You were about a foot to the right of your goal.
And she's lined up looking like she's going to be playing on that right-hand side. The only mistake you can't make is to hang it too far out to the right and never come back in bounds, because then you get stuck throwing the same shot. If you're going to make a mistake, it is this. She at least gets to progress all the way up and can save a par.
Pretty thick, nasty-looking brush.
I literally just threw a hyzer at this tree
How
right
how
here.
how bad is it? Does it look as
Was
bad
a
as
little
as it does on camera?
Well, guys, you know, you see no one really wanting to jump in there, so to speak. That it's relatively short, but it's got some thorns and some other really nasty brush. So walking in there can really cut up your legs very easily. I was just off the fairway by a few inches on 12 a few holes ago, and it does not feel good. So hopefully we're going to get it found here in just a moment, but we've got to be pushing close to the 3 minutes anytime here. As we all know, you have just 3
right
minutes
there.
to locate your disc.
And it does just sail over.
Go to the
that-
right for the tee pad. And
It's surprising that they haven't found it, given that it wasn't very far off of the OB line.
Yeah, she's actually taking it much shorter than it actually is. We saw it fly over that tee pad. So where she's taking it, she's losing about 50 feet from where she actually went in.
I know, we all watched my disc go out of bounds though. If you throw your disc in a pond and you can't find your disc, you can give yourself a lie. That's not true. That's not how the rule works.
I agreed with that spot.
Our whole group agreed with that spot. So if I throw my disc in the lake and we don't retrieve it, then it's a lost disc. That's what I just said. So why would you?
Well, a little frustration and also some rules discussion, and indeed it is the case that if you know it went OB, and they do know it went OB, then you play it at the spot where it went OB is to the best of your knowledge.
Football. I agree. Because you got to get up to your mini. You got to. So it's only a foot. Yeah. Did you watch that?
Again.
Where was my foot landing?
You're not close enough Hey, to the you're mini, 2 Scott. feet behind your You're mini. behind it, but you are well.
You're in line with it, but
yeah.
you're 2 feet behind it.
All right. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to call that penalty on someone.
Hey, am I
You're
arguing?
this far away from your mini, man.
Hey,
You have to call it.
Ken, drop it. I'm not arguing.
I know
Danny, I got to call a foot fault on that.
To hole 10, a triple mando.
Speaking of difficulty, it's only 285, but you've got this triple mando to contend with, the disc needs to go really far to the right in order to park this shot. So it really plays to a sidearm hyzer, but a backhand with the perfect height could certainly park this basket.
Yeah, with a backhand, you really need to test that mando, the height one. Throwing her soul.
Ooh, looks a little...
Ooh,
that's a missed mando, unfortunately.
Did have a situation where it was not clear to the card that she missed it. So they're actually going to play it as if she made it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's how it works.
I think that was the card decision. Fake us a little long. Apparently, also, the crowd was yelling that she made it, which I think mildly like you made it.
Right. Haley with a beautiful hyzer.
Which I think
Getting
might have been
really close to the
That's
basket.
sick, Haley.
Tough to get it. She had got some good ground play. That
Yeah.
grass kind of eats the disc once it lands.
Katrina with her M4.
Wow, that's very well played. Right through the middle.
Circle's
She'll have-
edge.
Great job. That's so weird. It seems like it should be like a misplay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
really confusing to me that wasn't properly played. And also, why weren't her card mates watching to confirm whether that was Ooh, that was really awkward stroke.
I wonder if that was a, result of the
the
Mando talk.
Just
just
the controversy that she just witnessed.
Well, discs don't lie. That one dropped out, so she'll be taking a par.
That is, I don't know how I feel about that. It seems like if I missed the Mando, I would know I missed the Mando, and then I would just proceed to the drop zone.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in coverage.
And then also that 3 other people on the card, and possibly a marshal that should be watching, didn't see this happen and step in to make a
There's rumors it might have even been the spotter that said she made it too.
Oh wow. So I guess we just don't really know what happened.
Yeah.
But that was a missed Mando that did not get called.
So that's a stroke.
Because it's not even necessarily the card's responsibility to call a missed Mando. It's like when you throw the shot, you see you miss the Mando, you proceed to the drop zone. I don't understand how you couldn't see your own disc missing the Mando and then play the hole properly after that.
Interesting situation for sure.
Ricky going very wide with the forehand. Maybe a little too wide.
And it looks like a foot fault was called on Ricky by Nico.
I don't think...
I want you to look at the camera real quick. It's a football.
You can't
you can't use video evidence. Obviously a tense moment here, but
at least 2 feet behind.
I don't think any other player saw it. I saw some still shots. I do believe it was a foot fault. I can't blame the other players for maybe not noticing, and certainly not intentional by Ricky. Right. But with the new rules,
What Nico's doing right now is trying to round up the troops on this one, but if they didn't see it and they didn't call it at the time, and Ricky didn't second it, which is a new thing, the player can second his own foot fault. So once that situation has been called and
hanging out wide over the left side, OB gets a reverse. Here, I'm going to try and move a little closer.
It was 3 feet behind. It's a football. I wasn't as far as you said. At least 2 feet behind. At least 2 feet behind. I didn't see anything.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it, but I wasn't even paying attention.
It was more than this far behind the mini. Hold on a second. No one should not verify it. What are you talking about, dude? Did anybody watch? It was this far behind the mini. I'm just calling it because that's the rules for everybody. I'm not making an exception for anybody.
I'm sorry.
Dude.
I'm calling a rule on anybody, but like I said, I didn't see it.
It wasn't even close. It was this far behind.
Let that be known.
No see on the video.
All right. Johnny McRae. Well, first of all, Nico is calling for a foot fault, as he's saying right now that Ricky's one of his best friends, but he just wants it known that that was a foot fault. He was saying he was at least 2 or 3 feet behind his mark. That is what Nico is telling. Meanwhile, KJ did not see it cleanly, and when asked of Johnny McRae said, "I'll call a rule on anybody," and then he winked at me and said that he's not afraid to call a rule ever. However, he didn't see it, so we'll see how this plays out. We know that Nico is...
Yeah, I believe so, yeah, because it's an immediate stroke now. Can verify that, but from my understanding, it is that way.
I want to look in the rule book.
Yeah, I mean,
I want it to be official for everybody. If I was 3 feet, I guarantee I would have got called, and I would have made guaranteed.
seconded it, then
here's a view. You can see the disc or mini there. So it looks like Rick's plant foot is, yeah, I'm going to say that's a pretty clear foot fault.
You get 30 centimeters behind the disc.
But I don't think anybody's in the wrong there. I mean, I don't think anyone's trying to cheat. I think Johnny and KJ legitimately didn't see it. I can also understand Nico's frustration.
Wow.
And look, that's a way to use that frustration to make a great putt. But I can understand Nico's frustration after seeing a pretty clear rules violation, but clearly not something Ricky did on purpose. And we can move on from it, I believe.
And they both put it past them.
Well, we called for a time violation here.
So he was out of bounds off the tee, so this was his third. We ended up seeing his par putt, which he missed.
Right.
So what happens here?
He gets called for a time
Before this
violation.
round, so you have a penalty stroke.
What?
You have a penalty stroke.
Why?
Excessive time.
Why?
PDGA rules.
Step away from me. Step back. Not listening? Stare? You want to stare? You want to stare? You want to stare me down?